So I wonder, what are we making in today's tutorial? Do you like my hat? I'll show you the back of it. I hope it'll show. Would you like to know how I made this twisty topped hat? I think you will. So I've made this out of a piece of remnant knit. This has just been lying around for forever, and I've been waiting again for the perfect little project, and this is it. Now you could make this out of, any of those sweatshirt fabric pieces that you've left over from making something. And we all have them, and we're all saying, oh, I'm going to use that for colour blocking. I'm going to use that for, blah, 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 blah. And you never do, and then they pile up. This is perfect. You could have one of these made in like 15 minutes, even less. Time yourself and stick it in the comments and tell me how fast it took you to make one of these. So sweatshirting, French terry, modal soft sweat, you could make it out of bamboo as well. It has, I hope you were able to see that, it's got a twist in the top of it. Now the beauty is, the twist is a gap. So if you like going for a walk, say, with a high ponytail, and you end up with a very strange looking lump in the back of your hat, you can thread your ponytail through this, so bonus points for that. You could size it up, size it down. I'm going to tell you in the tutorial how you determine the measurements for it, so you could make one for everyone in the family. Young or old, little or big heads. Yeah, perfect. I like it. A beanie with a twist. So here's my piece of fabric. It's a knit fabric. It's a remnant from a lovely Atelier Jupe knit that we had during the year. It is 55 centimeters wide and 60 long. I measured around my head where a hat would be, so basically across my forehead and down around the back of my head, and I reached the measurement of 59 centimeters. So I'm going to use 1 centimeter seam allowance on here, which brings this down to 53 centimeters finished, and that's because I want to have a little bit of extra tightness for the hat on my head, basically. But it all depends on the fabric. This is very stretchy. You definitely need a two-way stretch. It doesn't particularly need to stretch in this direction, but you definitely need one that is going to stretch across the way. So a little bit of trial and error to come up with the right size. So then basically you can size this up and down then for children or for whatever size you want to fit. So I've got the right side up here, and I'm going to bring the long ends together, and I'm going to stitch along here from beginning to end with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Now I'm using Maraflex thread, so I'm going to stitch with a longish straight stitch. So you can use any sort of fabric for this as long as it has a two-way stretch. So brilliant for all your leftovers. So from beginning to end. So there's my seam sewn along there, and this now is where the clever part is. So we have this laid out flat. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring one end down to the other like this, and then we're going to crisscross. So go like that. Now we're going to use our burrito method of sewing again, because you know how much I love the burrito. So we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4 layers, and we're going to bring 1 and 4 together. So we're going to shoot the 2 middle ones out of the way, and we're going to put a pin here. So the other 2 are out of the way, that's there, and then we're going to pin there again, and then we're going to start sewing from the pink pin. So here we are at the sewing machine. Now we're using a 1 centimetre seam allowance. I'm going to do a back stitch. And we're going to constantly keep moving the middle layer and sewing. I'm already coming near the end. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave a gap of about 3 fingers so that I can turn the hat out. So I've got a gap here. You turn the whole thing out. And I've got my gap here, so this is my seam. And then I'm going to shove, just give a little shake, so you end up with a hat shape. There's your twist. There's your part for your ponytail to come out. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close off this gap, and while I'm closing it off, I'm going to top stitch all around the edge of the hat as well. So depending on your fabric, just kind of, this one is very stretchy, so I'm going to make sure not to overstretch it as I'm sewing. So just kind of get your edge on the edge. Like so, and then I'm going to sew around. So I'm sewing about a ½ centimetre away from the edge. There you go. Where's my camera gone? And then I can turn it up. And there's your hat.